Throughout the years, whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same. Decades pass, now we rise anew. Rovers fans, this pod is for you. We won the cup, we ruled the league. A grand final win made us all believe. The world took note with wristbands fall. The Robins superb, now we won it all. Red Army, let's hear you sing with all your might. World champions in the red and white. We are okay, and we are the champions of the world.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Robin Pod, which is of course powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. And it's Wembley again, ole, as the Robins set up another trip to London to take on Wigan Warriors in the Challenge Cup final. Joining me to discuss that game, Leigh away in Pod Graham.
Hi, John. How are you doing?
I'm brilliant, mate. I am absolutely delighted. I'll never, ever get sick of going to Wembley, and we get to do it all again, don't we, on the 30th of May. We're going to come on to our opposition a little bit later on the Robin Pod, but the Robins did it in style, didn't they, making that journey, making that final appearance with a pretty dominant display in the semi-final against Warrington.
Yeah, we bumped into each other before the game, John, and we were both talking about how confident we were going into the game on Sunday.
Strange feeling.
Yeah, strange, but one I've had to get used to in terms of...
I think it's one we've earned as well.
Absolutely, we've had to get used to it. We've earned the right to feel that way. We get used to it, and now we should treat it as a confidence, not an arrogance. And I'm absolutely at peace with the fact of the players, the coaching staff, Peters. They absolutely have got the game plan mastered, not just for Sunday, but in the recent weeks. Now we're back on the horse as well. So over the next few weeks, again, looking forward to some good performances. But on Sunday, as you suggested, John, I thought we dominated the game in all areas, and after 20-25 minutes looked like there was only one team going to win the game.
Yeah, and much of the talk pre-game was whether Artem Org would come into the starting lineup in that full-back berth. Of course, Willie Peters went with Jack Broadbent, who's performed so well, and we're going to talk about his performance in that semi-final because I thought he was outstanding. And as me and Bazza Kingston discussed on the Robin Pod last week, we saw Carl Lawton starting the game. We saw that, didn't we, against Castleford. We wondered if that was going to be a bit of a prelude to the semi-final. And, of course, it was. And he came in to do that Mickey McAlorum style job, what we came accustomed to last season, helped set the benchmarks, helped set put us in some good position defensively, and really helped set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think just on Broadbent and Morg, I think it was obviously the right call for Brody there. It seemed a strange one to unsettle that with Morg coming into such a big game for his first performance back. So I'm glad he stuck with Broadbent there. But yeah, that we've seen that before last season, haven't we? Like you suggest there with McAlorum, that 15-20 minute spell that Lawton's had in the last couple of games where everything is kept tight, everything is geared towards defensive dominance. And then Jez comes on the back of that and starts to reap the rewards of tight defences and exploiting the space. So, yeah, I think that's a tried and trusted tactic that we have used last season. Let's hope it brings the same success for this season.
Do you think we'll start to see it feature more regularly now, Graham? Because we haven't seen it so far this season, but we saw it work so well for the Robins when Mickey McAlorum was fit, because don't forget he did miss huge chunks of the season. But Lawton seems to be adding real value to that starting berth he's been given.
Yeah, I think we're 10 games into the season now, and he's probably needed a little bit of time to settle down, get used to the speed of the game, the players, etc. Had a little spell out with suspension as well, so I think we've seen that work now and know that he can do that role and do it well, and I think that showed on Sunday with the dominant, as I said, 20-25 minutes that he put in first off. It seems to be a bit of a go-to now for Peters over the last couple of weeks. So I think now that we've seen it in practice and working well and giving us success, unless tactically there's a change of game plan, I don't think they'll be changing too much from that.
No, and to be fair as well, starting Lawton for that whether it's 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, does give the opportunity to get Litton out on the pitch, resting his legs from the start, but getting him when he does come on, he can go full tilt where sometimes, I've got no doubt whatsoever he could produce an 80-minute performance, but any player will struggle to be at their absolute best for 80 minutes in such an intense environment, and also the pace at which we play the game. So it's probably helping Jez Litton as well to bring out his best rugby.
Yeah, and I think if you look at Lawton's work rate as well, it'll probably go unnoticed, but he does a lot of graft as we used to see with McAlorum. A lot of the unnoticed hard yard stuff that he puts himself in the firing line defensively as well, which is a good thing. And what it does is it takes Jez out of that firing line and just allows him to then come on after that, that 20-minute period and still do his defensive duties, but he's not having to do those hard defensive stints in the first 15, 20 minutes that could, as you say, sap the energy tanks for a bit later on in the game when we need him to do his dynamic stuff going forward. It just lays that platform for him to come on and do that from the off without having to put a lot of those hard minutes in early doors to earn that defensive dominance that we've so enjoyed over the last few weeks.
Yeah, and if you look at the pre-game, the Rovers players, they must have looked at that crowd at the Eco Power Stadium, and it must have felt like a home game because from our vantage point where I was sat, of course, we saw Warrington. I'm really, really surprised in the numbers that they travelled in. And hey, look, I'm not bagging anyone here, but look, these semi-finals, you need to be there as much as you do the final because you need to be there to back your team. And for whatever reason, the Wire fans, just didn't travel in the numbers that I expected. That said, the Robin supporters responded in magnificent fashion, like we have done for so many times to pack out, 2/3 of the stadium. And there's no doubt for me that must have an impression on the players. That must, almost make them feel a bit more comfortable. Don't get me wrong. They'll be playing at such a level, like, get themselves psyched up. But just seeing so many Rovers fans there must have an impact on them.
Yeah, you'd almost suggest it felt like a home game on Sunday, given the split of the crowd. It was probably, a 2-1 in favour of Rovers, I'm guessing. Certainly where we were in one of the corners, it was noisy all the time, and it was reminiscent of a home game in terms of the noise that transmitted, hopefully across to the players as well. They reacted to that, and then likewise the fans kept on reacting to that. So there was a constant reminder that the fans were there. I don't think there was a point where it was a sort of arm wrestle game and we were out. The fans were not included as part of the game. But like you say, it must give players such a huge boost to know that they've got that many people in support, creating that noise. Just on a semi-final when we can be the 18th man on the day. So yeah, fair play to all the fans who did travel across there, lend their support for the boys. I'm sure they would absolutely value it, as they do every single week. And it can't be underestimated, I think, how important the fans are to the club.
Yeah, and I do wonder, and we'll never know, it's only me guessing, but I do think that the defeat in Las Vegas did have an impact on the players or the group as a whole, in terms of seeing so many Rovers fans out there backing them, and then seeing the performance, the performance that they put out there. I do wonder if that created a bit of extra motivation to make sure that doesn't happen again, because we do back the boys in big numbers. It's a very expensive time to be a Hull Kingston Rovers supporter, isn't it? And nobody would wish for anything different, But I do think that maybe added a bit of motivation going throughout the rest of the season for them to not repay, but just understand what's not acceptable, And I don't think they put that performance in deliberately, no way whatsoever. But it wasn't the performance we expected.
No, absolutely. I think the players will be first to be honest enough about that wasn't the performance they expected either, and they wanted. They know they've let themselves down as a playing group performance. Thankfully, since then, we seem to have got all that Vegas out of the system. There was a blip against Catalans a couple of weeks after, but since then, we seem to be back in the groove, back into the week-to-week grind of Super League performances, playing very well, playing consistently well. The range between our highest level and our lowest level is not very wide. Whereas you look at some of the clubs and the range between the best performances and the worst is quite a wide one. So I think we've found our groove again now, and long may it continue for the next 20 or so rounds in Super League, and obviously into the Challenge Cup.
And I think we're definitely reaping the benefit of that, as crazy as it sounds. Scoreline at half-time, going 14 points to 6, but it probably doesn't do justice to just how good we was in that first half, I don't feel.
Yeah, we had a couple of chances as well, didn't we, that were, they're a bit of scramble, or quite a bit of scramble on their line, and Budgie was bundled into touch. And if you look at the score we did let in, it was sort of Broadbent and Mikey Lewis colliding in goal, going for the same ball. So again, if we'd have been smarter there and tidied that one up, you'd have argued that Warrington didn't really have a sniff on our line, other than a few last play kick options, which we dealt with really well, apart from the one that didn't go so well. So I thought it was a dominant first half in all areas. I thought we were unlucky to not be further ahead. However, you put that down to good defensive scramble from Warrington, and maybe a couple of decisions we could have made a bit better. But yeah, I was quite content at half-time with the level of performance, but just had one eye on that first score of the second half being really important to make sure it went our way and not letting them back into the game unnecessarily. Yeah.
And the TV man of the match was Tyrone May, and I think for me, what typified Tyrone May's performance, or what typified his form over the last few weeks, was that opening try for James Batchelor, the way that he just slowed the game down to the pace that he wanted it to be at. But what as a team, what we're doing really well is identifying when Tyrone May is creating that space to have the runners off him, and Batchelor did that to a T, to the point where we was almost in shock when Batchelor pretty much just walked through the defence, wasn't he? But as much as it's sort of unscripted rugby league, it is scripted in a way, isn't it? Because the boys are coming to expect to know what Tyrone can do, and it's up to them to then create them runs, create them lines, to create that opportunity to score the tries. So as much as it is unscripted, they are working on that. They must do for that. And for me, that was the best of Tyrone May. That's what we've become accustomed to over these last few weeks.
Yeah, and I think we've seen this season, I think he's put in some really consistent high-level performances again so far this season, and that ability to just, like you said, to change direction, alter the play, not let defenders get complacent. If he's going right, all of a sudden the left edge are on notice, and likewise the right edge might switch off. So then when he cuts back the other way, it puts them on red alert again. And if they're not organised, like you say, that ability to speed up or slow down that movement with the ball, if they're disjointed anyway, and we can recognise that and spot those gaps, like you say, Batchelor had a stroll in on Sneed's outside shoulder, and I can't remember who got inside of, but their gaps were all wrong, and he just absolutely strolled through untouched. And I think we've seen that a few times with Tyrone over the last few weeks now, whereby he's creating almost havoc by not doing much. He's just slowing things down and almost going to a bit of a walking, standing pace. And then it's that quick acceleration or that quick decision that makes the action and it's too late for defenders to react after that. So yeah, it's an absolute weapon for us that we can exploit, no doubt. Like you say, no doubt the players are also in tune with that, and certainly those edge players as well, being privy to some of those movements and cues and triggers that he will give off, as to know when it's their turn to go, when to go hard and when not to. So yeah, very exciting. Another dimension, I think, to our attack was it if you look at a lot of the tries, it's done at pace, and when you're watching from the side on, Budgie going in the corner, you can appreciate how quick they're doing things at. So when Tyrone slows it right down, it's not normal for defences, because they're expecting things to be done at a quick pace, and it causes that element of confusion as well. So yeah, long may it continue for us that we've got that in our locker as a good attacking weapon.
Yeah, and I've seen quite a few people saying Tyrone May playing in his dinner jacket. Do you know what? I don't think he's, though, because then he's attacking rugby. What people see sort of then takes away from the huge defensive effort he puts in, the tackling. He's so, as an example, if you look at what Mark Sneed saved up compared to Tyrone May in terms of their positions and where they are on the pitch, chalk and cheese. Tyrone May, he's not afraid to go for the biggest player on the pitch, and that's where his all-round game is really coming to the fore for us.
Yeah, we've said that all along, that is a really solid defensive body in the line as well. He doesn't shirk any defensive duties whatsoever. He absolutely puts his shoulder in where it's required. So yeah, I think that, and then his attacking threat as well, does make him that complete player. And I think a lot of people now, pundits and fans alike, are recognising the importance of Tyrone May to the team. Maybe a year or two back, people didn't realise that, but I think because he's not the flashiest player in terms, Lewis will get all the sort of headlines in that area. He doesn't create much noise in terms of on or off the pitch activity. He's a very quiet person off it, but absolutely from an organisational perspective, the ability to defend well, the ability to create offensive attacking opportunities, I think does make him in that complete player bracket, and quite rightly getting the plaudits that he deserves.
Yeah, and I do want to pay tribute to his partner in crime in Mikey Lewis, in that it was a really good performance from Mikey, because he was being targeted by James Bentley and having to respond to that, and he was being targeted by the Warrington crowd throughout the game. And there's no doubt a lesser man maybe have reacted to that, and there's no doubt Mikey Lewis last 2 years ago may have reacted to the circumstances and what was presented in front of him in a different way. And I thought it was quite a mature performance from him. And we're talking about Tyrone May's performance, but he's got the perfect foil in Mikey Lewis, where he's got that running threat, he's got that kicking threat. We're not quite sure when he goes out to that left edge whether he's going to go with a Gildart-Burgess combination or whether he's going to take it himself. And the way them two are playing at the moment is one of the reasons for me, as much as it's about our defence, it's about the opposition not being able to read where their game's going to go when they've got them two on the ball. Yeah,
absolutely. I think just on Lewis, I think you're quite right to acknowledge that not just a lesser man, but a Lewis of, say, 2 to 3 years ago would have played a different game on Sunday if the game was played 2 or 3 years ago with Mikey Lewis in it. He has matured a lot. There was a couple of moments where I thought he was going to cross the line but didn't, and reined himself in pretty well, I think, but still got under the skin of Bentley and enough to rattle him and to give penalties away, to gift us points and opportunities. So yeah, as long as he stays on that right side of the line from a mentality point of view, then that's the Mikey Lewis we want to see. Look, he's always going to cop stick from fans wherever he goes, and that, I think, is the same sort of stick we would have given to Sneed in his day and others who we envy, as in they're good players, and if we had the opportunity to have them in our team, we probably would have done in the past. But actually now we've got that type of player that is the one that fans love to pile on. So looks like he's getting big enough and broad enough shoulders now to to laugh that off. He was waving happily to the crowd a couple of times in the second half when Gildart scored and when Batch scored as well. So I think he just plays that off with a smile on his face. Doesn't get involved in any of that. In terms of his game, like Tyrone, I think it's going up a level because he has got that ability to run with the ball. He has got that change of direction. He has got the physical strength now. You can see his physical size has improved as well, so he can get his nose through the line and drag defenders with him, but he can also make those killer passes as well to the outside backs in Gildart and Burgess on that left edge. So he's also, if you think back to the Bradford game, he's also got that dynamic run coming inside as well, where he scored a couple of first half tries of just those drop-off balls from the back rower, coming back, cutting back inside against those big men in the middles and using his agility to dance around them and get over the line. So I think, again, he's got so many weapons with the ball in hand, but also he's got the ball on the foot. He can kick sensibly as well and control the game, like Harry Smith, talking about Wigan in the future. But Harry Smith can control that game for Wigan. Mikey Lewis has got that, I think, over and above Tyrone from a kicking perspective. I think he's got that ability to control a game that way. So again, lots of strings to his bow, and again, an attacking weapon that is proving absolutely devastating at the minute, whether it's him himself or using the outside backs on that left hand side.
Yeah, and it's a great example of how they complement each other in terms of Lewis and May, because you've got May with the short kicking game, 10 metres out, he can dab it in, and then you've got Lewis with his all-round kicking game now, which is, he can kick from long, he can chip the ball up. You really don't know what they're going to get. You're going to get from him. So it's it's really good to see at the moment. And we're going to talk about the league game very soon. Of course, we've got Steve Till when Robin's revisited. We've got all your questions in question time, but there's going to be a massive question around who plays at fullback. Me and Baz have talked about it so much on the Robin pod last week, whether it's going to be Jack Broadbent, whether it's going to be Arthur Morg. For me, I know Tyrone May got the man of the match, but I think Jack Broadbent was absolutely outstanding, not just in terms of the metres made. I've not seen the stat, but I'm guessing he must have done 200 metres at least. But he was so short under them high balls from Sneyd.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've seen in the games since the World Club Challenge, since Morg has been out, apart from, I think, the game in Catalan where he made a bit of a blip breaking forward with 5 minutes to go and offloaded with player one, and we lost the ball, and ultimately they scored on the back of it. But apart from that one decision, I think he's been absolutely rock solid for a number of games now. And like you say, under that high ball, he dealt with everything cleanly, made lots of good meters from the backfield. I've noticed as well he does join the line a lot more now and take running options as well to create that potential overload of numbers as well. So I'm sure he's learning the craft of being a fullback from an attacking perspective. And I don't think if he was left in there, I don't think any fans would be feel shortchanged, because I think he's performed more than admirably in that role. And if he retains the shirt, then it's on merits. I don't think it's a walk-in that Morg comes back. However, listening to the bench podcast at the back end of last week, Morg did say that he was penciled in for the league game as a return. So whether that is predetermined or not, I'm not sure. We'll see on Saturday, no doubt. Yeah,
it's going to be a really interesting one, that, isn't it? And there's been a lot made about the referee performance, in particular the video referee and the inconclusive calls. I don't know. I think actually, from a Rose point of view, which I am going to give, I thought the inconclusive decisions actually did Warrington a favour by not being overruled, because when you look at the video screen, you look at the calls that were made, none of them, neither of them were obvious to say that they should be overturned. So I think he actually did him a favour, but there's been a lot of noise. Sam Burgess obviously talks about it post-game, didn't he? And there seems to be this sort of bitterness towards the Robins right now in terms of people thinking we're getting all the calls. I mean, of course, we did a challenge on the referee's decision that got overturned, didn't it? Peter Hickle getting pushed by Max Sneyd around the ruck. To be fair, I can see why people would be frustrated at that, because I don't think Pat Hickey needs to get involved in that way that he did in terms of running over the ball. That said, it's up to the referee to make the call, not for Sneed to take the matter into his own hands by pushing him, isn't it? So I thought generally Warrington didn't have much to complain about. I think they just got suffocated by the Robins, and it's only because they got beat so thoroughly that people are looking at it to almost make a case for why Warrington didn't play well, rather than giving credit to the Robins for the way that they just dominated that Wire side.
Yeah, I think there's probably an element of frustration I've listened to Burgess's comments, and I think I've seen some stats around 3 of the decisions took 2 and a little bit minutes to come to a decision on, and the 4th one took, a minute and something. So nearly 7.5 minutes of the whole event was taken up on Captain's Challenge reviews, which obviously falls down to the video ref. And I feel sorry for the video ref, because they're giving them not enough technology to work with. The camera angles are awful.
And also when they slow them down, it looks like one of your dodgy VHSs from the 90s.
Absolutely. And again, you're asking people to make a decision with poor... You're almost in the lap of the gods as to what angles you've got to make a decision on. So if you're lucky and you've got a clear angle on it, you might get the decision going your way, but you've got another decision that's got not a clear angle on it that gives an inconclusive call, and doesn't allow the video ref to prove either way whether the decision was right or wrong that the referees made on field. So I think from a technology perspective, that's a wider discussion about technology within the game and money within the game to support the referees and the decision-making process. But, you've got one guy sat in a truck looking at a couple of monitors with whatever dodgy camera angles we can give him to make decisions on. We haven't got in the game the ability to provide, those, like they do in DFA and VAR. And I'm not saying that's perfect, by the way, but give the referees the right tools to make the calls on it. Now, if after, I was listening to somebody else yesterday, if after 1 minute of reviewing it, you haven't found anything to overturn, move on. We shouldn't be waiting.
I do think there should be a time limit.
Correct.
On it.
Correct. 100%.
Sometimes, I think that they're allowed, obviously, as much time as they need to make the best decision in the interest of fairness. Yeah. But I look at it from a different point of view and go, we need to put a clock on it to do it in the best interest of the spectator and the viewer.
Yeah.
And you've got to accept that may go by the wayside in terms of the game. But I think for the punter, which actually is for me becoming more important than maybe the getting the right decision, and there's no point reviewing endless replays of the same, the same angle that you can't, you see it, as soon as you see it once, you can probably make a decision. Yeah.
And again, if you can't make a decision to back the referee or reverse their decision within a minute, then you stick with the original referee's decision and you move on. The game, you could have saved nearly 4 minutes of time. I appreciate it's only 4 minutes, but 4 minutes is 4 minutes when you look at the length of the game. You could have saved that amount of time, and I don't think there was too much controversy that needed looking at that you couldn't see fairly quickly in some of those replays. So absolutely speed that bit up. It would help the players out, help to keep the game flowing, help keep the fans on side with it and not disengage because they're taking too long to make these decisions, which most of the time we can all see on screen anyway, and recognise quickly. And then they go and look through another 7 or 8 replays of the same thing. So frustrating, but again, we've got to look at it holistically, I think, and put the right resources in place if we are going to have these captain's challenges. Put the right resources in place to allow the referees to make those quick decisions. That's better technology for me as well.
Yeah, and interestingly, I saw a little bit of noise about the length of the game. Obviously, finishing post 6 p.m. on Sunday. I saw Matt Shaw, heard him saying that people might not realise the game kicked off 4 or 5 minutes after the the 4 p.m. kickoff, and also there was a 19-minute half time. So when you factor them in as well, actually, I think they probably contributed more to the length of the game rather than the calls and the video referee. It was a Robin 7th straight win. We're head to Wembley to take on Wigan. There hasn't been a final in terms of the Challenge Cup or the Grand Final contested without Rovers or Wigan in it since 2022. It's looking like a real humdinger, isn't it? We're going to talk lots about Wigan in the next couple of podcasts, not least because we faced them in the curtain raiser before the Challenge Cup final. So there's lots to dissect and try and comprehend there. But we saw how dominant Wigan was against St Helens, absolutely put them to the sword after there was a few question marks placed over them this season, not least about how they would cope without having Bevan French. And it is setting itself up to be a fantastic final, and there's no doubt whatsoever, after seeing what Wigan did to St Helens, the Robins are going to have to be on their mettle come the 30th of May.
Yeah, absolutely. I think watching the Wigan Saints game on Saturday, I was believing the hype of Saints that they're going as favourites, that they've got, they're going to turn Wigan over here. This is the real deal for Saints, but was left hugely disappointed by their performance. And I thought Wigan were excellent in their own 20 defensively, and then in the final 20 of Saints offensively as well. I thought that's where they really stepped up. So I think Wigan synonymous with cup competitions and when it matters, turning it on. So I think it's going to be two evenly matched teams again, both defensively focused teams, all the makings of an absolute cracker.
Yeah. And on social media, on the Robin Pod, I posted the big question, and I asked people for their views and opinions on this. Was the performance against Warrington the best performance of the season? And if yes, why? And there was mixed opinions. Some people suggesting that the game against St Helens, the home game, was the best performance of the season. A lot of people suggesting that actually that was the best performance of the season. What do you reckon, Graham?
I would agree it was a complete performance in a pressure situation, i.e. you lose, you go home type scenario. And as we were taking games in over the last few weeks, with all due respect, we've played promoted teams, those Bradfords, Toulouses, Yorks, etc. This was a real test for me about, again, another team that's been talked up as being a contender at the end of the season. So this for me was a real test that we haven't had in many weeks since the Saints game against a real opposition, and I thought we dominated them. And again, that level of performance, I think, is the one that we need to now benchmark against any team, and it's those sorts of levels of performance that I think is in our locker to do week in, week out. I don't think many other teams can match or beat that performance consistently over the course of the next 15, 20 games, whatever, in the league. So I think we're in a good shape with that. And I would suggest that after that, the beginning of the season, World Cup challenge and all that, which was a great performance, albeit a little bit wobbly at the end, I thought we controlled the game really well on Sunday. I didn't think there was any chance of Warrington getting back into that, the way we, that second half, first 20 minutes, controlled it all, and then just as opportunities came our way, just took them when it was the right time to do so. So yeah, I'd agree. I think it was a complete performance on Sunday.
Yeah, and there's no doubt Warrington did have a couple of spells, didn't they, where they did threaten us, but the way that we repelled them consistently and sent them away from our try line and just really got into their faces and our defence, the speed at which we move up. And I've seen people go again questioning, well, how can they not be offside all the time? And I tell you what, Graham, it's because they're bloody fit. These players work hard, and the reason why they're able to do what they do is because they're conditioned to do it. Yeah,
100%. And again, we talked on Sunday before the game, didn't we, John, about the team on the pitch is the start of it, but the team behind the team also deserves a huge amount of credit. Those backroom staff, coaches, medical staff, support staff, hydration, nutritionists, etc., all the S&C team. That again is what is driving the team to be able to do what it can do. You look at where we are from an injury perspective this season as well. Very, very healthy and fit squad. We went through a lot of the season last season with minimal amount of disruption in terms of injuries as well. So again, huge amount of credit to those backroom staff who are keeping the players in prime condition.
Yeah, and just to finish off on this game, I saw Joe Burgess getting interviewed, and he was asked about his tries, and he said there's a reason he's called the Flying Budgie. And does he ever score an easy try? He seems to have his body over the whitewash more times than he does with it in. But the way that's not an accident. He must be training for them finishes. There's no doubt whatsoever, because you can't just rely on natural ability to do that. He must be practicing them finishes in the corner. Yeah,
100%. You've got to have that in your locker now as a modern winger in the modern game. If you haven't, you're going to be bundled into touch the size of your defensive oppos nowadays. So that agility, that ability to contort your body into all sorts of shapes, keep it off the ground, and still maintain control of the ball and ground it in the field of play. It's part of the modern winger's armoury now, and we saw TD do it last week as well, where he managed to. I think that's the first time I've seen him perform a Burgess type score as well when he got that one in the first half. So yeah, if it's not in your locker as a modern day winger, you better go out and get the old mats out and start practice diving around with the ball in your hand.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, right. That takes us to Robins Revisited with Steve Till.
Hi Chris, wow, Rovers at Wembley again here. It's truly a golden era for the Red and Whites. And I'm going to go back to another golden era for the Red and Whites back in 1984, where Rovers, having won the championship that year, became the first team to win the double, both the championship and the premiership. Where they went to head in Leigh, in front of 12,515 people, and took on Castleford. And Cass opened the game in fine style, actually. Rovers had been champions and, as I say, qualified for the final with a first round 54-0 drubbing of Leeds before seeing off St Helens 21-16 in the semi-final at Craven Park. The Robins this day at Headingley had Fairbairn at full-back with Gary Clark and David Lawes on the wings, Mike Smith and Gary Prome were the centres, and John Doherty and Paul Harkin in the half-backs. And then the forwards were Roy Allstock, Chris Rudd and John Millington in the front row of the pack, with a strong second row partnership of Chris Burton and Mark Brodest, and locked in by skipper on the day, David Hall. And it was a powerful back three of the scrum, was that one. Roger Millwood, the coach, chose a speedy two-man bench of Ian Robinson and John Lydiot. As I say, it was a bright start for Castleford, and they opened the scoring when Jimmy Crampton made a strong break before feeding Bob Beardmore, who put winger John clear, with Beardmore converting. And there was another penalty for Beardmore to put Cass 8-0 up to take us into half-time. Soon after the break, though, Rovers hit back with a fine try from Gary Prome, the New Zealand centre. And it was the Robins who got into the ascendancy from this point. Castleford had proved strong in a breathtaking match. It was a fine open display of football by both teams, but the Rovers pack started to get on top after half-time. And it was loose forward David Hall, the skipper, who broke through to Leon Rovers' next try for Mike Smith in the 55th minute. And it didn't take Rovers long to get another break by Hall, followed by another superb pass. It was really a copy of the the last try, except it wasn't Mike Smith who went over, it was man of the match John Doherty. He sped away from the Castleford defence. There was a Beardmore penalty that reduced the deficit for Cass to make it 14-10, but that was the scoring done for the Weldon Roaders. And 2 minutes before the end, another great press from David Hall put David Law's free. He made a 25-yard break down the wing and touchdown in the corner. Doherty missing the conversion. As I said, it was Doherty that took the man of the match. But for me, David Hall had a magnificent game. He was captain for the day, and he laid on, as I say, he laid on 3 of the 4 tries with some superb breaks and passing. Great performance by Rovers. As I said earlier, they became the first team ever to win the end-of-season double by taking the championship in '84 and then converting it, if you like, to take the Premiership. And David Hull went up and collected the trophy in front of a sea of red and white fans at Headingley. Great performance, great days, and even greater days now, Chris.
A massive thank you to Steve Till for this week's Robins Revisited. And Graham, before we talk about Leigh away and do question time, I'm a bit late to the party. I've only just caught up with Renaissance, the documentary series that the club have produced and created. And I just want to say what an amazing job they have done. It really captures what it means not only to be a Hull Kingston Rovers supporter, it captures what it means for so many people, but also gives us great insight into the people behind the scenes who are doing so much for the club, and to be able to make us able to enjoy what we're witnessing and seeing. And it gave a great insight into so many personal stories and why this club is such is so great. It really was an amazing piece of TV, and you're watching it, and there's no doubt for many people it probably brought a tear to the eye on several occasions when you watch through all the episodes. But yeah, it just a real special capturing of a unique time for the club.
Yeah, I agree, John. I've watched it as well. And again, if anybody listening, watching hasn't seen it, go check it out on YouTube. It's all on there. I think it's really good in that it's not a traditional fly on the wall type documentary. There's not, there's not the teacups flying about that people love to see, and the drama. It's got a human touch to it, I think. And like you say, there'll be some familiar faces to many Rovers fans on there. Chatting through some things. The way it's produced as well, it's not narrated in any way that it's all scripted. It's all pulled together in sequential events through the course of the season, culminating in the end of the season, grand final, etc. But it brings it from a different perspective, which I think is quite different to what many people would have seen on some of the other documentaries about clubs that they've watched. So yeah, absolutely echo what you said there, John. If people haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's available on the YouTube channel. But yeah, really clever piece of work as well.
Yeah, really good. Leigh Kershaw, he's headed to Huddersfield on a short-term loan deal. So hopefully, just like Jordan Desaria and Bill Leyland have enjoyed in Super League, some much-needed game time. And of course, on Saturday, the Robins take on the Leigh Leopards. Leigh seems to have got their act together a little bit. The start of the season with 2 victories out the first 7 games, but they're going into this fixture against the Robins with 3 Super League victories against Catalan, Huddersfield and York. Huddersfield and York, we've seen what they've produced so far this season. Catalan, we don't know what they serve up week to week, but there's no doubt whatsoever 3 victories in a row will definitely give them confidence, as will the players that they've got returning, and they are getting back to their strongest side that they can field. Of course, we saw Pape, he's back now, Gareth O'Brien. So the Robins are riding high at the moment, aren't they, after that victory over Warrington? But there's no doubt whatsoever there's going to be a tough encounter against Leigh on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the whole month of May, Jono, is just big game after big game for Rovers. Now it's a block of games where we've come through the whole York, Toulouse, Bradford block. Dare I suggest a set of easier games on paper, and then you're coming into a block of Warrington, Leigh, Wigan for the month of May. So I think this will, Sunday's done and dusted now. We've now got to switch on back to Super League action for the next 2 weeks, with Leigh up on Saturday afternoon. I think, they've also had a week off, don't forget. So that can work, either way for clubs sometimes, whether they come back a little bit rusty after a week off or they come back fully refreshed and ready to go. Time will tell. But yeah, I agree. I think they're a dangerous opponent on Saturday. We've had mixed success going across to the Leigh Sports Village over the last few years in Super League. I think we're going to have to be on our top form on Saturday to compete and get the 2 points.
Yeah, and I think they probably the Robins served up one of the most disappointing performances of last season against Leigh, didn't they? It'd be, there's no doubt they'll be smarting after that and wanting to rectify that. And but if we defend like we did against Warrington, in our last 5 Super League games, we've only conceded 34 points. Yeah. So they're in that groove. They're in that machine-like state. And, of course, then we face Wigan twice. We'll come on to that in the next Robin pod because there is so much to talk about that and how we take on that challenge. But we're going to do a question time. One of the questions is, of course, around Jack Broadbent and Arthur Morg. Thankfully, Graham, we saw James Batchelor go off with that HIA, didn't we, against Warrington. He was subsequently charged for the contact. He's not got a suspension. He's got points and a fine. And thankfully, unless we, as we recall this, we don't 100% know because we don't know the squad, but there don't seem to be any injuries picked up in that game, which means we should be going into that pretty much full strength, which is, again, great testament to the off-field staff for the way that they condition the boys. But it means that, they're rolling. They're ready to go again, aren't they? So that Leigh side, as much as we might have to look into reasons to fear taking them on, I'm sure they're looking at the Robins and really looking at how we played against Warrington and the players that we've got in that lineup. And I've got no doubt that they'll be fearing us right now.
Yeah, and you listen to Peters historically over the last season or so, he's always said we need to focus on what we can do. We won't worry too much about the opposition and what they can do. We'll put our structure in, we'll play the whole KR way. So I think that'll be, standard operating procedure for them on Saturday. You're right to acknowledge beforehand they've got some dangerous players. They've got players coming back. So I think it'll be an interesting game. But I think with the whole squad scenario, it's the sort of problems that you want as a coach to have. It's the better problems to have than not having enough bodies to pick from. So it's what the coaching team and Willie Peters will be discussing this week. It's what they'll be watching. Thankfully, like you say, it looked like Batch, when he came back on, he didn't have any ill effects of the head knock, and hopefully, pulls up all right this week and there's no after effects with that. He should be fit and available for selection as well. So yeah, I agree. It didn't look as if there were any injuries that crept in on Sunday afternoon. I think there were a couple of rotations that gave people a breather, which I think we're managing a bit better now. People like Minchella, he's getting regular spells on the sideline as well in rotation to manage that workload. So yeah, fit and healthy squad. Let's go full of confidence. Let's go put a whole KR performance in. Let them worry about what we've got to offer and play like we can. I think we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, and that brings us to question time. Okay, Graham. So the first question is from Ashley Berry on Instagram. He says, can you see Willie Peters rotating the squad over the next couple of weeks to avoid any potential injuries or suspensions?
Possibly. I think if we look back at last season in the Challenge Cup final, he played a strong squad just the week before the Challenge Cup final. So I think if we've got players in form, we play the players, we play our strongest squad. That's been his mentality and served as well. We rested players 2 years ago against Leigh in the Challenge Cup final. Didn't work out so well on that particular day. So I think if he's got players available, he'll pick his strongest squad. However, the players that are in there are all strong squad players. So if a player is left out for a particular reason, then it must be on form or preference for the situation, the game plan that they're creating for that particular day. I do wonder if they'll maybe shuffle things around a little bit for the Wigan game, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks strong and goes out for the 2 points with the strongest team on that day as well.
Yeah, and we've got on Facebook several questions along the same theme. Sarah Stanway, she says, is Morg playing? Is Arthur Morg going to be going to play? Big decision. Broadbent has been top notch. Yet Morg is my favourite player. Rob Woodall says, what would you do with Jack Broadbent coming up and for the final? Now Morg will be returning soon. Matt Brady, after Broadbent's excellent performance, does he keep his place? I think it would be unfair to drop him. Tough one, isn't it? Tough one. The toughest decision I think Willie Peters will have probably faced for a good while.
Yeah, very tough, and everybody's got valid points that raise the questions there, John. And I think he's going to put Morg back in at some point as the number one. I think he's said that Morg's the fullback at the start of the season, so I think he'll put him back in on Saturday to test him out. He's fit, ready to go, looking sharp apparently. So I think he'll go back in on Saturday. What do you do with Jack Broadbent after that? I don't know, because if Morg,
well, does it change? I was going to say, Graham, because
who drops out?
If you look at the bench for the Challenge Cup semi-final, obviously Litton, Luckley, Whitbread, Martin. Now Broadbent's got great utility value, but if you're going to then put Broadbent on, you're probably going to have to take Carl Lawton out the side, aren't you, to fit him in. So for me, it could be a total not even finding a place for Broadbent if Morg plays.
Yeah, and you look at the sort of way Leigh play, they're quite a physical team as well. So I don't think you can not afford to have a big bench like we had on Sunday with that sort of bench and three forwards and Jez in there. I think you've got to match that on Saturday as well. I don't think you can afford to have Broadbent on the bench and covering for a back, and he's certainly not strong enough, big enough to play in the middle. So yeah, it could be one of those that Morg comes in and Broadbent drops right through the trapdoor.
Okay, time will tell. Julie Rodman, she says, do you think we'll outsing Wigan and the drums at Wembley? I'll answer that one 100%. Rob Coles, he says, what other podcasts do you guys listen to? I don't. I think there's only one out there at the moment called The Robin Pod, which is worth listening to. So there's no point wasting your ears on anything else.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, get in the comment section. Paula Richardson, she says, which current player is still underrated outside the KR fan base? I don't know. There's probably several, isn't there?
Yeah, I think we talked about Tyrone May as being one of those we're starting to appreciate now, and I think other people are starting to recognise the value that he brings. Quite liking the work that Amon's doing as well. The hard yards, new player coming in. Similar type of player to Hargreaves, but can do bigger minutes, is making those impactful runs as well. So I quite like the work that Amon's doing for us.
Yeah, no doubt. And then Paula also asked the same question about which performance under Willie Peters best represents a Willie Peters team.
Oh, great question.
I think for me, it was the grand final against Wigan. I think that's what they'd been building towards for a number of years. And I think that's, for me, that really showed what this Willie Peters side is about.
Yeah, I think there was an element, exactly that, Jenna, but I think there's another element of we'd learnt our lesson from the year before. and we'd put in place a structure that meant we weren't going to repeat the year before. Everything was geared up to it. We'd understood what went wrong the year before, and we corrected it the year after. So I probably agree with you.
Yeah. Question. We've only got a couple more to get through before we do the quick fire questions, Graham, which I'm sure you are looking forward to. Gary Leigh, Northern Roots Rugby League Fantasy Network. He says, does anyone wish to chip in for hiring a player with a nice message for the FC fans if we win back-to-back Challenge Cup finals? I mean, for me, Graham, it's not even that low. That it's not even really banter anymore, because I almost feel sorry for them because they're so low. Like I said, I think their biggest rivalry is probably with Gould right now. So for me, I won't bother dipping your hand in your pocket because I think our rivalries are now with the Wigans and the Brisbanes of the world, so yeah, for me that's been and gone. And probably to finish on, Tracy Cook makes a serious point. Do you think the song chants that fans aim at Michael Lewis are acceptable in rugby league? Do you think they should be seen as unacceptable along with racist songs comments, or is it banter and part and parcel of the game? We saw on Sunday against Warrington, Michael Lewis was subjected to, on several occasions, chants. And I think it was Salford, actually, who got fined last season for chants towards Michael Lewis. But it's he can't not hear it. And it's not nice, is it? It's not great. It just seems to be something that's been in the game for a long time. It's not acceptable. But also, don't get me wrong, Rovers fans aren't angels either. So there's a two-way street with this one, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I would suggest some of the songs that the East Stand sing to opposition players are in the same bracket of the category that the question raises there. There's... Yeah, it could debate it off, and there's nothing that we sat here can do about it. It's up to the authorities, it's up to clubs to police that themselves, whether we'll stop it. Who knows if that is, can it be classed as banter or overstepping the mark? I'm sure it depends which side of the fence you're on in terms of your colours. So we just got to be mindful of the fact that if we are calling for that, then be careful what you wish for, in terms of looking after ourselves as well, in terms of how we project ourselves.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we was whiter than white, I could understand it. But at the same point, what Michael Lewis is subjected to on a regular basis now isn't acceptable. And thankfully, as we mentioned at the start of the Robin Pod, he's responding in the best possible way. And that's by is talking with his rugby out on the pitch.
Correct, 100%. That's the only way you can silence people is to ignore it and concentrate on your game. The moment you let it get into your head and affect your game, then the opposition fans have won in effect. So concentrate on your game, show them what you can do on the pitch, and let your rugby do the talking as he has been doing.
Everyone who sent through questions, much appreciated. Make sure you send us them through next time when we pose the questions. Ready for question time now, Graham? Quick fire. Are you ready?
Go for it. Yeah, let's do it.
10 questions, quick answers. Roy Holstock or Salso Sue?
Sue.
Losing to Castle for the 1986 Challenge Cup final or losing to Leigh in the 2023 Cup final?
Which would I rather do? You mean? Or...
Well, quick fire answer.
I've done them both, so I've been there for both of them. So it was harder to take against Leigh.
Josh Mantellato kicking for 2 points or Reece Martin?
Reece Martin.
10-team Super League or 14-team Super League?
14.
Michael Dobson or Anita Dobson?
Depends what you're asking for, but I'd probably go for rugby for Michael Dobson.
Heads or tails?
Tails.
Old Craven Park or New Craven Park?
Old.
Rovers new badge or Rovers old badge?
Old.
Gavin Miller or Elliot Minchella?
Oh, I knew that one was coming. Gavin Miller.
Badgers or Beavers?
Always a Beaver.
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of this week's Robin Pod, which is powered by Budget Ties Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Graham, a huge thank you for your contribution to this week's Robin Pod. The Robins are going back to Wembley once again. But for now, live, love, laugh and be happy.
This is the Robin Pod. Robin Pod. This is the Robin Pod. Whoa. Throughout the years, whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same. Decades pass, now we rise anew. Rovers fans, this pod is for you. We won the cup, we ruled the league. A grand final win made us all believe. The world took note with Chris Ben's fall. The Robins superb, now we won it all. Red Army, let's hear you sing with all your might. For your world champions in the red and white. We are okay, and we are the champions of the world.